Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Tonight is the 750 subscriber celebration here on my channel. We're at 752 right now. I don't know if anybody will do the mean thing about unsubscribing as soon as this video is posted, so we're underneath 750 subscribers, excuse me. I can't talk tonight. It's one of those days, again, where I'm just kind of scatterbrained, kind of all over the place. I was planning on doing the Say Cheese and Die review tonight for that episode. Haven't watched it again yet, but then I saw that we hit 750. So I was like, okay, well, I need to go ahead and do this video tonight because I promised it to you guys. As soon as I saw it hit 750, I would. So I got out of work tonight and I came home and here I am. So I'm going to try to get through this relatively quick, within an hour, hopefully. I doubt it'll happen, but I'm going to try. I figured out a way for my camera to supposedly upload one whole video instead of parts like what happened last time on the 500 sub celebration, excuse me. If I stutter a lot tonight, forgive me. It's been quite a day. Starting off, without too much of a introduction, I do want to thank you guys immediately for the 752 of you who have now joined the community and who are now part of this little channel of just weird Goosebumps love. We all love it. I think we all pretty much probably grew up on it. Some of us are still growing up on it out there. A lot of my subscribers are a lot of young people, not just people my age, like the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings. It's actually younger people that are still growing up on the newer books right now, which is, I think, really cool, personally. At least you guys are getting a taste of what we got. I wish you could have lived in the 90s, though, and seen what it was like. Man, it was such a great time with that show floating around and so many other great cartoons like the Spider-Man the Animated Series and the Tick cartoon Bobby's World, all the great Fox Kids stuff that no one knows about anymore, except unless they grew up in that era. A lot of my friends and family don't even know about that stuff if they grew up in that era anyway. I got a new hat the other day, a Nightmare on Elm Street hat from, I went to Spirit of Halloween. I'd never go into that store because I'm terrified of animatronics. And they have giant clowns that play peekaboo with you, and all kinds of stuff like that. So I went in there and I got this really cool hat because I love the Freddy films. I don't know if I've ever talked about that. Somebody in this Q&A, I kind of browsed through the questions the other day. Some of the some of the earlier ones posted, and I saw somebody ask me for like my top 5 horror series, franchises, whatever. I'll get to that later when that person asked that. But Freddy's a big one. Freddy is absolutely a big one, probably my second favorite of all time, but I'll get there in a minute. We'll talk about that in a little while. The first one up, again, thank you guys. Before I get to my first question, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys, love you guys, I pray for you guys all the time, and thank you. It's really a big blessing to have any of you guys in my heart and in my life here. I know I don't communicate with you as much as I should when it comes to the comments. I just get overwhelmed. I have so much going on with the wedding coming up and stuff. Please forgive me for that. If I delay uploading a video like I promised you guys, like the other day with the Say Cheese and Die review, said I'd upload it on Saturday, didn't get it up till Monday. Forgive me for that. I'm really sorry about that. I'm so scatterbrained, dude. I can't even hold up to any of my promises anymore. I feel like Peter Parker and Spider-Man. My camera's a little crooked. I decided to fix it for you. I still have that fisheye lens problem. My friend Lou tried to show me how to fix it, and I'm terrible with software, so I just kind of gave up on it. I'm just going to accept the fact that it's going to have a fisheye lens. Forgive me for that. Anyway, first question here is from my buddy Alvin. I don't know if this has already been asked in the last Q&A or for this upcoming one, but if you had an hour with R.L. Stine one-on-one, what would you ask him and or talk about? I feel like he's always asked about Goosebumps and always about, is Mr. Wood still alive? What happened at the end of Night of the Living Dummy? All these things. What happened to the first ever episode of the supposed adaptation that was developed for the original Night of the Living Dummy book? I would want to ask him probably that question. There's probably a lot of Goosebumps questions I'd want to ask him. Like, does he ever regret writing a certain book? Was there a certain series like Monster Blood or anything that he regrets writing and putting out there? I don't know. I kind of want to ask the guy what his favorite book is of all time. I don't know if that question's out there. It might be. I also want to know what his worst book he's ever read is. Not that he wrote, but what his worst one he ever read was. That'd be very interesting. I'd hate to see the guy, as nice as he is, if you've ever seen any interviews with R.L. Stine, he's a very sweet man. He seems to me, at least, from public opinion. He seems like a very sweet guy. And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would trash on anybody at all. So I would just like to see a little negativity in him, just to see what he thinks about whatever his worst book he's ever read is. What if it was like The Scarlet Letter? You know, that'd be interesting. Anyway, sorry that I haven't been commenting on your channel lately. It puts a smile on my face to see you upload and gain subscribers. I wish you and your fiancé all the best in your marriage. God bless you both. I hope your family is safe and well. Take care, buddy. God bless you. Thank you, Alvin. I love you, man. God bless you, too. Mr. Majestic, have you ever read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? No, I've not. because I personally think that that book is sort of dark at times, some parts. And then there was the sequel to that book called Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. I knew there was a sequel, but I didn't know it was about the elevator. That's kind of interesting. Why is that not made into a film? You know, the Johnny Depp reboot thing, well, I guess it's more of a remake than anything. That film did pretty well, and I kind of assumed that they would go ahead and do like a sequel, but I guess they never did. I thought it was a pretty good film. I liked it. Anyway, dark at some points, and then there was the sequel to that, blah, 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 blah. And that book is way more dark because people actually die in that book. Sounds like a note of interest for me. Lou commented back to the guy, too. I'm glad Lou's back. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Lou was gone for a little while. He had like a couple of problems, I guess, in personal life. I just kind of talked to him through email a little bit, but I'm glad he's back. Lou, thank you for watching, buddy. We love you. We're praying for you. All of us are. Oh, I love Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator a lot more than its predecessor. Fun fact, I can never say this dude's name. Is it Roald Dahl or Ronald Dahl? I can never say the guy's name. Passed away before he was able to complete the third installment in the trilogy, Charlie in the White House. The first few chapters are in a museum somewhere. It's kind of cool. Fadiddleflop. Oh, by the way, Mr. Majestic, thank you for your question, by the way. Yeah, I haven't read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I want to, though, because I love books. I love kids' books. It's good stuff when you can find a really good one, a really dark one. So that might be something worth checking out at some point. Maybe those two books at some point. Again, I'm sorry for all the random messed up mush mouth attitude tonight. I can't figure it out. I don't know what my problem is. I sit all day long by myself at work and I don't talk to anybody. I have nothing to talk to, no one to talk to. I'm completely, perfectly, entirely social distance in the sense that everybody's on the other side of the room and I'm by myself all night long. And yet when I get out at night, I just can't talk. I don't know why. It's not like I talk too much. I don't talk to myself. Well, in my head, but you know what I mean. Fadaddleflop, this is a random question, but do you like the movie Coraline? You know the weirdest thing? I wanted to read that book before I saw the film, and I went ahead at one point and kind of gave in and was like, okay, it's free to watch on Prime, so I'll go ahead and watch that. I started watching and I loved what I saw, but I saw like the first half of the film, and at one point I just kind of stopped and was like, I want to read the book first. So have you ever done that? I might sound weird. A lot of you younger folks might think I'm dumb, just an old boomer. That happens sometimes with me. I'll get into a film and be like, I really love this. I want to check out the original source material. And I just stopped watching it, I never get back to finishing it. But I do love what I saw so far. I really like Neil Gaiman's books in general and his writing style. I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane, I think is what it's called. One of his more recent ones from the last like 5 or 10 years. And it was really good. I haven't read Coraline, I really want to at some point. I almost bought it, probably a year ago, and I just put it back. I don't know, it's like one of those things I just can't get my hands to take it to the front register at Barnes & Noble sometimes. I also don't like Barnes & Noble on top of that. But, yeah, forgive me. Coraline, I want to check that out, though. The whole thing. Toman Reglez. I'm sorry if I mess up you guys' name. Please forgive me for that. I'm not elegant when it comes to pronouncing names, or remembering names for that matter. Are you a fan of 90s cartoons? Absolutely, dude. I was born in the 90s. I was born in 94, if anybody doesn't know that. If you don't happen to know that, yeah, I was born in 94. 90s cartoons. I talked about it in one of my previous videos about the Goosebumps bootleg I accidentally bought. When it comes to animated shows, my favorite probably from the 90s was probably Spider-Man the Animated Series, the 1990s show. I also like Spider-Man Unlimited, even though I rewatched it when it was on Netflix and it was horrible. It was really bad. I still love it. I love the Spider-Man costume in Spider-Man Unlimited. I like the ties in the first episode to the old animated series. And other than that, the show itself is horrible. It has one of the worst Green Goblins I've ever seen in anything ever. But it feels like a 1990s comic book type of thing. If you've read any 90s comics, it feels like that. I'm not sure if Ed, Edd n Eddy counts as a 90s cartoon, but I love Ed, Edd n Eddy. I have the first season and I believe the second season on DVD, and I don't have any more. I want the whole show. I'm really getting pissed off about how that's never been released fully. I wish Cartoon Network would do more of that. They put out a Courage the Cowardly Dog box set like last Christmas or whatever, and I bought the whole thing. I have it sitting over here on my bed's headspread thing, whatever that is. Whatever that little movie holder thing is above my bed. I love it. I think that Courage is a fantastic show. I don't know if that came out in the 90s, though. I think that was the early 2000s, kind of like, well, Powerpuff Girls might have also been in the 90s. I love pretty much everything Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, all that stuff back then. The only one I ever remember not being too crazy about was Rocket Power. I liked it, but I did not love it, you know? What's some other 90s stuff that I love, cartoon-wise? Dragon Ball Z, here in the US, is actually an 80s cartoon, but it came out in the 90s here in the US, and it was fantastic. I love that show. The original Dragon Ball is okay. I haven't seen a whole lot of it to say whether I love it or not. It's on Hulu. I might try to get to that at some point. I'm kind of working my way through Naruto right now, but yeah. But I love Dragon Ball Z. I'm a huge sucker for Dragon Ball Z. I'm currently working my way through that. I plan on reviewing that in the next couple of months on my actual other channel, Strange Michael, in case you want to check out that. I do movie reviews and TV show reviews, book reviews, all kinds of stuff on that channel. Right now I'm preparing myself for Halloween time, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, like the Paranormal Activity series, the Saw franchise, Halloween franchise, all these things that come out pretty much in that time of the year, around October. So I kind of get overwhelmed when I talk about 90s cartoons and stuff, because there's so much I want to watch, so much I haven't seen in forever. I'm more of a fan of like late 90s, early 2000s type of cartoons, like Camp Lazlo. I love Camp Lazlo. It was so good, dude. Yeah, but when it comes to 90s animated shows, I love Bobby's World. That's a great one, too, that Fox Kids put out. I talked about that earlier in the video. Love a lot of 90s cartoons. Great, great stuff, man. If you haven't grown up in the 90s, you've really missed out, I think. Or at least grown up in the early 2000s when you were able to actually process what Ed, Edd and Eddy and Powerpuff Girls and all these things were, Samurai Jack, all these things. If you weren't around for that time, you have missed out so much. With things like Garbage Flapjack and that kind of crap out there, has nothing on top of the shows that I grew up on. It's not a nostalgia thing. It's nothing to do with that. It's actual pure cut quality. It's not as good as the older stuff that I grew up on. The new stuff is just complete garbage. Most of these cartoon channels, like Cartoon Network and all that, are doing like live action shows that are like comedy things. They're not as good. They're just garbage, period. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. I'm sorry for rambling so much, man. Let's see. King Ruler, what is your favorite Give Yourself Goosebumps? At this current point, it's kind of a tie between that one special edition I talked about a while back. It was one of the creepiest Halloween books I've ever read, one of the scariest Goosebumps books I've ever read. I think it was something Pain House. I cannot remember the title to save my life. But Pain House, something like that. It has like a little orange dog on it, or fox or something. It's great. Really good haunted house story. If you like haunted house stories, that's a really creepy book. I loved it. It's a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. For anybody who doesn't know that, it's a choose your own adventure book. I'm so dry mouthed. Maybe that's my whole problem with being so tongue-tied tonight. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of being overwhelmed, a little bit of tiredness, thirst. I don't know. Hunger, especially. I haven't eaten yet. Jesus, I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. I can't wait to eat something. I'm trying to figure out if I want like a cheese pizza or if I want like a salad with some grilled chicken on it. I don't know. I'm kind of balancing back and forth between the two. It's my one meal today. Still working on that diet. I'm really excited about that. Forgive me for being all over the place. I'm so hungry, dude. Anyway, King Ruler, that's probably a tie between that Pain House book and Little Comic Book Shop of Horrors, which is not a special edition, just a regular book. It was great. If you love comic books, things like X-Men, Marvel type of stuff, that's a great book. If you love Universal Monsters, that's covered a little bit in that book as well. Both are fantastic. I love both just tremendously. I can't even tell you. Great, great books if you haven't read those. DC Nerd Reacts. Hey Michael, I have a couple of questions. Number one, are you going to review Goosebumps I Live in Your Basement? I keep having that being constantly mentioned in my previous video where I said that I wanted you guys to recommend the book for me for my honeymoon. When I go on my honeymoon for that week-long trip, I wanted something to kind of delve into when, I don't know, when I'm bored. If I'm just kind of in a waiting room or something for whatever reason, at like a line at a park, maybe I could read that book. A lot of people seem to be voting for that particular book, I Live in Your Basement. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking Stay Out of the Basement. Excuse me, I meant Stay Out of the Basement is what people keep recommending. I Live in Your Basement, I really want to read it. It looks really good. I love the cover to it. It looks like a fun, I've heard there's a lot of body horror in that. I think Lou was the one that told me there's a lot of body horror in I Live in Your Basement. So I don't know, I might check that out at some point. Maybe I'm confusing that too. I don't know, but yeah. I'm sorry, I'll try to get to it at some point, dude. Forgive me. Number two, are you going to review Goosebumps Hall of Horrors Don't Scream? For some reason, I have this weird thing where some of the newer books, like Hall of Horrors, Horrorland, which is not new per se, it's like over 10 years old, but kind of the newer series after the classic series and Give Yourself Goosebumps, for whatever reason, I'm kind of leaning towards reading those in order. I'm not doing that with the Most Wanted. I've been scattered everywhere reading Most Wanted books, but the Slappy World I've been reading in order. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I've been reading Slappy World in order. Hall of Horrors, I cannot talk, forgive me. I haven't even started Hall of Horrors yet, any of those books yet. I want to read them, though. I think Don't Scream sounds pretty cool. I think that the one about the birthday party looks pretty cool, too, with the giant spider. Zombie School looks pretty neat. A lot of books in there I'm really excited to read. I just wanted to take my time getting to them and really enjoy most of the bigger stuff that a lot of people want. And kind of some of the more more reluctant reads for me that I really don't have any interest in. I want to kind of get out of the way now rather than pile up a bunch of bad books later on, or potentially bad. Not necessarily bad, I haven't read them all yet, but potentially bad ones later on. So I'm kind of taking my time getting to, like, I Live in Your Basement, these Hall horror books. I kind of want to set them to the side, just in case they're really good. Maybe they're just a big surprise at the end of my little journey of reading Goosebumps over the years. I don't know, but I hope that answers the question with all that jumbling I do. Number 3, and this is pretty much the last question from DC Nerd Reacts. Have you watched Stranger Things? I love the first season of Stranger Things. And I did the same thing that Mike and Jay on Red Letter Media did. As soon as they reviewed it, I heard them say the exact same thing I kept telling people. There was no way at all, after how amazing that first season was, that they could ever top it. There was no way they could ever even come close to how good that was with seasons 2 and so on. Season 2 gets released, I watch it, I watched like half of it. I can't stand it. I think it is completely exactly what I said it was going to be. First season's amazing. I think it has some of the best characters ever in horror. I think it has some of the best examples of that type of monster. That kind of monster in Stranger Things, the Demogorgon or whatever it's called, that thing is in a lot of movies. It's the same kind of re-skinned monster in a lot of things over and over again in movies. I love horror as a genre. I can admit there's a lot of crap slashers out there that are just rehashes of Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. I can acknowledge those things. There's a lot of knockoff Child's Play films. This is a situation where it's kind of like what is that one film that came out last year everybody loved? And it was good. I didn't hate it, but it was good. The John Krasinski movie. The one where he had to be quiet and his daughter was deaf. I can't remember what it's called, but you know what I mean, probably. It's that monster, literally. Well, that film came after Stranger Things, but that kind of monster has been around for a long time in horror, and it's just all over the place. I'm tired of seeing it. But even so, season 2 and 3, I didn't even watch 3. I don't even have Netflix anymore. I don't even care to have it because I hate Netflix guts. I hope they don't ever get any kind of hand on Goosebumps because they're going to ruin it. A lot of people are excited about the Fear Street show. I have no interest at all now that Netflix is involved because Netflix will completely pollute it with politics. I just don't want their SJW hands on it. I don't want them to touch Goosebumps. I don't have any exposure to Fear Street yet, but I do not want them taking my baby Goosebumps and ruin it because it's going to happen if they touch it. They will pollute it in some way, at least when it gets to season 2. But Stranger Things, it mostly stayed kind of decent from what I understand from most people I talk to. But for me, the second season is so weak. From that first half I watched, it's not worth watching. The first season's amazing. I recommend it to everybody out there who hasn't seen Stranger Things season 1. Fantastic show. Fantastic season. Such a good season. But it's one of those shows automatically, like Arrow, that like after the first couple of seasons with Arrow's situation, it just becomes a flatliner for the most part. Arrow didn't recover for like 2 years. It didn't get a good season until like season 5. So yeah, it's and then like every other season was terrible after that, you know? But Stranger Things, to me, it will never live up to that first season. You're starting to see that dwindling of Stranger Things merchandise and stuff out there in the world now at Walmart and places like that. I'm very happy that it blew up the way it did. It had some amazing score in it with the music. It was great, beautiful music, really 80s synth type of stuff. I love that. It really works. It's a great little show in the first season, but after that, it just doesn't know what to do with itself. They don't know what to do with the Will character. They don't know what to do with anybody there. It's just so lame. And they start throwing in a lot of worse CGI from that second season onward. It just doesn't hold up. I don't like it at all. I think the first season's amazing, like I said, so watch that. But the rest, I don't care. Bender, my boy Bender. I love Futurama, so my boy Bender's in here. Bender Bending Rodriguez. Have you read any Fear Street? No, I have not. I just talked about that. Thank you, Bender, for your question. Cooner O'Brien. I just picked up Night of the Living Dummy 3, and Goosebumps wanted the Haunted Mask. I hope that you love them, because I love both. I think both are fantastic, and possibly the best of both series. Night of the Living Dummy 3 was, if you don't know this story already, being an old man and rambling about it all the time, I believe that the VHS at Hollywood Video of Night of the Living Dummy 3 was the thing that got me into Goosebumps. That may very well be my first ever exposure to Goosebumps, either that or the Haunted Mask VHS. And I loved it ever since. I really have. But yeah, so Night of the Living Dummy 3, really good. Kind of different from the episode. If you love the episode, if you haven't read the book yet, it's a little bit different. I dig it a lot still. I love the character of Zane. I love the whole book. It's fantastic. I've only read it once, but I really dig it. It's one of my favorites. But Goosebumps One of the Haunted Mask, easily my favorite Haunted Mask book. I think it's such a great, scary, bloody, very bloody, if you haven't read it yet, very, very bloody book. I reviewed both in case you want a review on them. They're somewhere on my channel in the playlists and stuff of either classic books or most wanted books. Yeah, good pickups. Hope you like them. Now, Bila107. Which Goosebumps book do you think Slappy the Dummy was most perfectly written in? Not a Living Dummy 3. Either that or Revenge of the Living Dummy. I love both. I think that Not a Living Dummy 2 is a big one that a lot of people love. I think that 3 and Revenge cover him a lot better compared to that book. It's just me. I love all 3. Don't get me wrong. I love pretty much any Slappy book I can get my hands on except for Son of Slappy, but I think it's a little weak, you know. Who is the best Living Dummy series protagonist? I'm a big fan of 3, so I'm going to say Dan and Trina. Yeah, Trina is her name. I kept trying to say Carol. I don't know why I tried to say Carol. Who is Carol? But Trina and Dan are my favorites. They're a little mean, but I do love them tremendously. Mainly with the TV show. I kind of consider that when you say a series, but if you're talking about just books, it's still 3 for me. I really dig it a lot. Favorite horror movie? Oh man, that's a big one. If we're talking scariest movie of all time, Eraserhead. Easily. It's an art film, an art house type of thing. Very artsy-fartsy David Lynch movie. Black and white, 70s film. It's very much filled with symbolism. If you love things like Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, or you love Nicholas Winding Refn films, which he's my favorite director of all time, if you love that kind of thing, you will love Eraserhead. I'm not even the biggest David Lynch fan. I like him, I just don't really find myself being entrapped in his movies a lot of the time. I haven't seen all of his career. I haven't seen Mulholland Drive or anything like that. I think I saw a little bit of Blue Velvet and stopped watching it at some point. I don't know, it's just one of those things that it didn't catch my interest years ago, and I just kind of stopped watching it. But Eraserhead's probably my favorite scary one. When it comes to favorite, can I just say, I personally consider the whole Saw franchise one big movie. It's so interweaved, you can't watch any of them out of order without already being a fan and already seeing all the movies. You can't watch them out of order. You have to watch them all the way through, straight through, to get pretty much any clarity to what's happening. I consider the Saw franchise my favorite horror film. I really love it to death. It's my favorite franchise of the horror. I know I'm kind of spoiling that one comment earlier, though later on, that somebody's going to ask about my top 5 horror franchises. I love Saw. If you want to call it horror, you can do that. If you want to call it a crime thriller, you can do that too. It's scary, and it's fun, and it's crazy, and it's psychological horror, which I love. So yeah, the Saw franchise is probably my favorite movie. It's not perfect. The later entries, like 6 and 7, and even kind of Jigsaw, are a little off. Spiral's coming out. It was supposed to come out this year. Got delayed because of the freaking virus, but I'm a little pissed about that. I'm hoping that movie's good. I'm so worried about Spiral. I want it to be good. I love Saw. I love that Sam Jackson and Chris Rock are going to be in Saw now. I'm really stoked for that. I hope it brings some new blood to the series and kind of brings people's interest back to it. But that's my personal favorite. It really is. It's not scary per se. It's intense for sure. It's very intense and very gory if you haven't seen the Saw franchise, but it's probably my favorite, frankly. I love it to death. There's a lot of series out there I love, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all these different series that are most people's favorites too, but something about Saw stands out for me. It always has, even though I don't really consider it horror per se, but a lot of people do, so I just thought I'd throw it out there. My favorite personally is Saw. Thank you for your questions. Luke T asked a lot of questions. There's a lot of different comments from this guy. If Goosebumps made a Dr. Maniac episode, who do you think should play him? I actually said in my review for Dr. Maniac Will See You Now that Jim Carrey should play him. Jim Carrey would be such a good Dr. Maniac. He could play it perfectly if it's written that way, the way it was in Dr. Maniac Will See You Now. If it's written like the first book, Robbie Schwartz versus Dr. Maniac, it won't be as good, I think. I think it wouldn't be as good as the portrayal in Dr. Maniac Will See You Now, because that one, it's like straight up like 90s Jim Carrey, like The Mask, Liar Liar, that kind of Jim Carrey. Me, Myself, and Irene, some of the funniest stuff that he ever did in his career would be from that. Ace Ventura, that's the guy who should play Dr. Maniac. If you're ever going to put him as the main villain in a horror film for Goosebumps, it better be Jim Carrey. That's the dude. He would be perfect for it, I'm telling you. Next question. What is your favorite Goosebumps episode? Not a Living Dummy 3. I would probably say that's probably my favorite. Haunted Mask and Haunted Mask 2 are pretty close, but 3, Dummy 3 is a great one. I really love that one. How many Slappy World books do you think there will be? I heard somebody, I don't know if it was Lou or somebody else the other day, say that they've officially announced that they're done after a certain number. Like I think the last whatever the last one's supposed to be, like the Monster Blood book, or whatever the last one after, the last news announcement I did for the book. Supposedly that's the end. I don't know if it's true, but if it is, it might be like 15 or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of a shame. I love Goosebumps. I want more. I'm kind of curious if they'll make another series after that, but we'll see. I don't know. What Goosebumps character do you think you relate to? Oh man, I thought about this one the other day when I read this. I'm trying to think of what I really think about this. If we're saying character as in protagonist, it's Carly Beth. Carly Beth is the most standout character amongst all the Goosebumps protagonists and children characters and main characters and all that stuff. She is a great character. I love her to death. I love the performance of the character, or the actress Catherine Long, who played her on the old TV show episode adaptation, which is the first 2 episodes of Goosebumps show ever. She was great. Carly Beth, the performance, the writing, and all that stuff for that episode and for the books are fantastic. I love Carly. If we're talking character, it's probably her. She's probably my most relatable one. If we're talking about monsters, I don't really know. Slappy is hilariously evil, but he's not relatable. You know, he's just kind of a mean guy. Snappy is kind of relatable. His brother, one of his many brothers, he's kind of relatable. Many of the monsters are not relatable in Goosebumps, so I'll just kind of stick with, like, I kind of feel a little bit for the Haunted Mask and the Unloved Ones, or whatever they're called. They are a bunch of masks that are real skin, who used to be beautiful, and they just had so much of a neglectful jealousy almost. Like, people neglected them so much they had a jealousy kind of form out of that. They became ugly, they became deformed, and bumpy, and misshapen, and all these things. Kind of like how people get, you know, when they're neglected, or when they are so angry and hurt and jealous even. All these sinful things. And it says a lot about us as people. It says a lot about a lot of things. So that's kind of relatable. I kind of dig that one as my main, most relatable monster when it comes to Goosebumps. So there you go for an overly complicated answer like I always give. Anyway, Luke T also asked, DC or Marvel? DC. I love DC. The movies aren't perfect. The comics are really great most of the time. I love the darker feel to a lot of them. I think Superman has the most hopeful comics ever, and I think Batman has like the most dark comics ever written. I love Batman Beyond TV show more so than the actual comics of that. The comics are not very good for Batman Beyond, but DC always really knows how to get me. I like their types of stories versus Marvel's more constantly uplifting. I can't talk tonight, forgive me. Constantly uplifting and constantly jokey. And I love Spider-Man, at least in the comics I used to. He's kind of ruined now, just like he is in the films. I know it's a controversial opinion, I'm just saying. I'm not a big Tom Holland Spider-Man fan. He's alright. I don't love him, though. Marvel's films are doing very well, for the most part. I still haven't seen Captain Marvel. I don't want to. I really don't want to, honestly. I feel like it's completely pointless. There's no reason to see it. It has no meaning on anything and no bearing on anything in that entire universe. Anything after Endgame is going to be garbage. I didn't like Far From Home. I thought it was pretty bad. But comics, I like the old Spider-Man comics and stuff from Stan Lee's era. Other than that, I'm not really the biggest Marvel guy. I think certain things, like with the franchise, are good as movies. The MCU are pretty much great for the most part. They're at least watchable movies. At the lowest point and like the worst point of that whole franchise, they're at least watchable movies. DC, I haven't liked a DC film since Batman vs. Superman. I love that film. I love Man of Steel. But after that, it's pretty much been a big wreck except for Shazam, which Andy Samberg made, which made sense why that was so great. Shazam was fantastic. I didn't like Aquaman. I hated Birds of Prey. I absolutely loathe Birds of Prey. Suicide Squad was a big disappointment. I can't stand that. Wonder Woman's boring. Completely, utterly boring. I'm looking forward to 1984, though. That looks like a pretty cool film. I feel like there's one I'm missing. But anyway, Justice League. Justice League is a complete mess. I'm really excited for the Snyder Cut. I really can't wait for that. I'm even going to get a HBO Max membership just to see that new Snyder Cut that comes out next year. But other than that, I love DC. The comics are a billion times better than any of the films have ever been, pretty much. I love BVS, though, and I love Man of Steel. I think they're fantastic films, and I will defend those until I die. Anyway, thank you, Luke, for all your questions. Devil Luke, which is another Luke. When do you think you will get the new Goosebumps show? Oh, we will get the new Goosebumps show. And will they use stories from Give Yourself? So I with the virus. I think we would have started getting them next year. With the virus, I think it's going to be 2021 or 2022. Forgive me, I don't even know what year I'm in. That's how late it is. I think it'll be 2022 personally, which is a shame because I want the show in 2021 to be able to watch that. Of course, we're getting Fear Street either at the end of this year or some part of next year, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm not really pumped for Fear Street just because Netflix is touching it. Like I said, not a fan. But with the TV show, I'm a little worried. I gotta be honest, I'm very worried. I hope that the people working on Are You Afraid of the Dark's reboot are going to be involved with this, because that was great. That was really well done for what it was. I hope that they're working on this, because they could really pull it off, I think. But I hope that we get the old TV show theme song. I hope we get all that stuff. If they try to replace the theme song with something new, it's not going to work. Everybody's going to hate it from the get-go, because people did the same thing with the movies. People hate the movies because they don't have the theme song, and it doesn't feel like a singular episode or like an anthology film or anything like that. A lot of people are pissed off about that to this day. A lot of people get mad at me because I defend the films. I like the films. I can't help it. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that show. Very interesting. But you also said, and will they use stories from Give Yourself? I wish there were certain premises that they would use, like the... What was the one? Checkout Time at the Dead End Hotel. That was a really good one. A good premise there that they could do something with. Little comic book shop of horrors I talked about. The Pain House book. Fantastic book. A lot of good Give Yourself Goosebumps books out there that could really do something cool with. Trick or Trap, even. Or Trapped. Yeah, whatever the old special edition of that's hard to find. Whatever that one is. That could be a really cool concept, even though the book's not really good. The book is kind of a mess. I'd be very interested to see them do something with Give Yourself plots. I think they could pull it off, personally. I'm curious about whether it'll just be classic episode and book remakes and reboots and adaptations for the first time, like the original Dummy book. I'm curious what they'll do with all that. I'm curious what they're going to do with any of that. I would like to see some of the newer books, like Frankenstein's Castle, or Frankenstein's Dog. I'd like to see Frankenstein's Dog. I'd like to see Wanted the Haunted Mask, which that'll never get done the way it's supposed to be. A lot of newer stuff I want done. It's probably never going to get done. It's a shame, but it probably won't. So I might as well go ahead and accept it. But I want that stuff, Devil Luke. I want it. Chris Tiger Harris. Which sport would Slappy be good at? Probably slap boxing. I think it speaks for itself. Goosebumps book fan. What is your favorite book? Of all time? As a Christian, I should probably say the Bible. I do love the Bible. I really do. I'm one of those Christians that actually read it and actually study it. I'm not just a Bible study guy. I don't do that. I actually read it and discuss it and study it. When it comes to books, like fictional stuff, my favorite trilogy of all time of books is probably Jonathan Mayberry's Ghost Road Blues and Dead Man's Song and Bad Moon Rising. It's called the Pine Deep Trilogy. It's a fantastic Halloween story. It's a big old series together. They're like 400 to 500 pages a book. They're great books. I highly recommend them. You could read them this October and you're going to love them, I promise you. Really good books. Really, really good. Very witty. Very well done. Very good spin on like vampires and werewolves and all that kind of cool stuff mixed in with a little bit of crime drama in the first book. Favorite book probably ever is probably The Crow. Yeah, the one that started the Brandon Lee film. Inspired that. The Crow is a comic book, graphic novel, whatever you want to call the thing. It's fantastic. If you haven't read that and you're a fan of things like Joy Division or Pink Floyd or anything like that, there are so many great gothic things about that book that really just encourage me and inspire me in my own writing of poetry and stuff. I love it. I think Crow is just amazing stuff, man. It's written by James O'Barr, for anybody who wants to check it out. It's a fantastic book. You should get a print copy, not a Kindle copy or a Nook copy. Get a print copy of the book. It might be a little pricey, maybe 20 bucks, but it'll be worth it. I think you'll love it. It's beautiful art, black and white art, sketch style type of thing, kind of mixed with a portrait style at times too. Essentially about a guy, for anybody who doesn't know the story of The Crow. You should, it's great. The film was great too with Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son. And The Crow is essentially about a guy who was fixing his car one day, his fiance was in the car with him, and a bunch of gang members stop by and they kill him. And they kill and do some other things to her too. And he gets brought back to life by a crow that brings his soul back to the land of the living. And he comes back to life and he hunts down the gang members. And it is a fantastic book. It's so poetic and so well done. It's not just your typical revenge story. It's not even like the film. If you've seen the Crow film from 1994, I believe was the year it came out. If you've seen that, you'll love it. It's nothing like that almost. It's almost completely different. It has a lot of similarities in certain ways in the story, but man, Eric Draven, such a great character. I love it so much. The Crow is great. Oh man, this is a lot of questions. Beauteous V. Number 1, if the first Night of the Living Dummy book is being turned into an episode, should they bring in Mr. Wood? Yeah, absolutely. You can't do it without him. Otherwise, there's no real ending you could do to pull that off, I think, to really satisfy fans. Because again, it'll just turn into the TV show / movie rant. A lot of fans of the old TV show and the books are going to piss off about not having the theme song and the original ending and Mr. Wood not being there, so you need to have Mr. Wood involved, I think. Question number 2, which version of Slappy is your favorite? Easily the TV show version, the red hair version. I love it. I know it doesn't look like him in the books, and from the descriptions of the books, I get all that. I love it. I think it's just everything from the voice to the antics in Dummy 3, that episode, all that stuff. That ventriloquist dummy is so scary. I love how fun he is, how his voice is just creepy. There's just something about that voice that always gets me. It's like one of those things that just lingers in the back of your head sometimes. TV show Slappy, easily my favorite. I love all of them, but that one's my favorite. Number 3, would the movie version of Slappy sound better with the TV version's voice coming out of his mouth as he speaks in the films compared to what we got with the Jack Black voicing him instead in your opinion? I'm sorry, I'm getting so all over the place. I don't mind Jack Black's voice for the movie film version. I don't mind it. I actually think it works kind of well, having that parallel between Jack Black playing R.L. Stine and Jack Black also doing the voice of Slappy, because if you also notice, their parts are on the same side. They have that sequence in the first film with the mirrors, and the reflection in the mirrors of Slappy looking at R.L. Stine. Really well done. Really like that comparison. I think the voice of Jack Black being done for both characters works great. I think it really works both in the best possible way, symbolically almost, of how much Slappy is his creation, is so much like him, and how much of that character is coming out of R.L. Stine and being put into that dummy. Very interesting stuff. I love it to death. I think that Jack Black does a great job. I'm not sure, and I thought about this the other day when I read this question and kind of screened through them. I kind of wonder if I would even like that TV voice coming out of that movie dummy. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think it might be okay. I don't know. But I don't think I'd love it, personally. I don't know. Number 4, do you think the movie version of Slappy should be in the new TV series, or should they bring back the original from the 90s TV series? Man, I'd be happy either way. I prefer the TV version. I think if they had the TV version kind of scuffed up more, kind of like the movie version, having like the missing piece of cheek over here and like his nose a little bit unpainted, scratched, whatever. If they did a little bit of that, had some cobwebs on Slappy, on his shoulder or something, had some dust on him, I think that'd be kind of cool. Personally, I think I'd be cool with that if they did that as kind of a crypt keeper type of thing. Even if they didn't do a single episode based around Slappy and a dummy book or anything like that, if he was like the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt on this show, I'd be cool with that. Or even if you had Curly, the skeleton, I'd be cool with it. But I don't know. I kind of want that old TV version, but I don't know how much people will like that. I don't think the new movie version of Slappy is as scary as the old one from when I was a kid. Even as an adult, I don't think it's as scary as that TV version. So that's my own opinion, I guess. I don't know how you feel about that. Put your thoughts and comments down below about that discussion. Number 5, do you think Mary Ellen should get a redesign to look like the book covers in the new series? I don't really care. I was thinking about that too at one point. The old Mary Ellen is not iconic. She is kind of like an American Girl doll almost. And just fluffy, poofy poodle hair, It's not really anything special. So it's not like it's anything iconic. If you had the original book cover with like the Bride of Frankenstein hair and the white stripe going through it, I'd be kind of cool with that. It'd be kind of neat. Might look a little goofy on film, depending on how they do it. Kind of like with, Bride of Chucky. How they had Tiffany have like the black hair and then she dyed it blonde and whatever. It's a little goofy. It works for Child's Play and Bride of Chucky, but not so much maybe Goosebumps. I don't know. But Mary Ellen, I'd like to see her, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if I don't. Does that make sense? I think it does. Question number 6. Do you think the old kid actors from the original series should come back as cameos in each episode or play play as the parents this time around. Catherine Long, who played Carly Beth actually recently, I believe, said in an interview that she wanted to come back and play Carly Beth's mom if they decide to do a new reboot episode or anything of the original Haunted Mask, or even anything close to a Haunted Mask thing. Catherine Long, the original Carly Beth from the TV show, wants to come back. That'd be great. That'd be so cool if she came back for that. I'd be so stoked for that. If they had people like her, or like that Brandon guy that played in Werewolf Fever Swamp. You know, he was in Freddy vs. Jason and stuff. He's a great actor. I love the Rampage films. He's so good in those Rampage movies. Great actor. I'd love to see him come back as like a parent or like a long-lost cousin that's like a weirdo or something. If you could do a story like that, you could pull him into it and he'd do great. He'd freaking succeed at that. There's a lot of these kids like Hayden Christensen. I would love to see Hayden Christensen come back as Zane or any other thing. Like just a cameo or anything like that. There's rumors of him coming back to Star Wars. He kind of did for Last Jedi. Or not Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker for like a small voice thing, even though he was put in costume. They didn't put it in the film, but, you know, he came back for a small voice thing as well. They put that in the film. I would love to see Hayden Christensen in particular come back, because I love him. He's Anakin Skywalker. Why would you not want him back? It's great. Anyway, question number 7. Should the Slappy World books get its own series? I'd be okay with that. I want one team involved with everything. Any kind of TV shows that come out, any spin-offs, I want one team involved. If there are spin-off shows, it's going to be impossible to do that. But have one team, period. Do not have an A team for one season, a B team for season 2, and so on and so on. Don't do that. Don't jump back and forth with shows like Arrow and Flash. It always shoots them in the foot. Every single time. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The teams are never on the same footing. Do not do that. Have one team working on just every single season together. That's what I think. If you want to do a season called Slappy World, do that. If you want to do a season called Most Wanted or Horrorland, do that. Don't confuse them all and do spin-offs and then ruin the whole show. And take all your funding over here and ruin it with something else. Fear the Walking Dead did not do as well as Walking Dead because it wasn't what people wanted. People did not want a previous to the apocalypse show. They didn't want that. I like Fear the Walking Dead from what I saw in the first couple of episodes. Never finished watching more of it just because of time. I just haven't. I would like to, but I haven't. Most people didn't want that show. And it was kind of a waste. They had a dumb title. Nobody wanted to watch that show because of that. If you make another show, a spin-off show, at the same time the regular Goosebumps show is going on called Goosebumps Slappy World, people are not going to watch that except for the Goosebumps fans. At least just putting a show out called Goosebumps, you could bring in a lot of the old nostalgic people like myself and people who are not that big of a fan, kind of casual fans from the 90s, they could come back. They really could. Don't throw them all over the place and have them keeping up with a bunch of different shows. People already have too many shows to watch as it is. You need to stick with just one show right now and that's it. In my opinion, personally. Let's see. Question number 8. Should Curly the Skeleton come back in the new series? Like I said, he should totally be the Tales from the Crypt type of host, I think. Number 9. Should Goosebumps merchandise come back in stores? Absolutely. I would buy everything. I would buy absolutely everything I can get my hands on. Number 10. If the books actually came to life in reality, which monster would be the hardest to capture back into the book, and which monster would be the easiest in your opinion? If Slappy has all of the various powers that he has in the films and the books and everything else mixed into one dummy, probably him would be the hardest, I would say. Because he could do anything. He could control your mind, he could make you hear loud, screeching, chirping noises if he wanted to. He could do anything to you. He's going to make you a slave. And easiest would probably be... maybe the Haunted Mask? Maybe. Mainly because if you just don't put it on your face, you're kind of fine. I mean, I know they fly around and stuff, but, you know, you don't put it on your face, you'll be kind of fine. You have loved ones in your life that make things for you, you'll be okay. So about 95% of the population would be okay from the Haunted Mask. Mainly. Whatever. Let's see. Number 11. In the new Goosebumps series, should there be an episode or two where the family, dog, or cat save the day instead of the kids? I don't really care. I'm one of these people... I always see people rant about how dogs got killed in a film, like John Wick. I don't care. It makes you care more about the main character who actually matters. A lot of people like these kind of type of cop-out endings. Like, for example, I'll give you a great one. If you haven't seen Dark Knight Rises, don't listen to this because it's a big spoiler. The end of the film. You've sat through 3 movies now of Batman. Batman coming back this time around after breaking his back. Now he's okay after being punched in the back, which is stupid. I hate Dark Knight Rises. I think it's such a stupid movie. Such a bad ending to that great trilogy. You get through all this rise and fall of Batman, and then he gets to the end, he's fighting Bane, he's about to beat him. And who beats Bane? Catwoman. She blows him up with the freaking bat bike thing. I have never felt so insulted in all of my life. It was like something out of a Schumacher Batman film. It was something that should not have happened that way. As great as Nolan is, I can't believe that was done. I'm completely baffled by the fact that Anne Hathaway's Catwoman killed Bane at the end of Dark Knight Rises. I will never let that go. It should have been Batman's moment to shine. And you can say, well, Talia has the situation where he gets to shine there. I don't care, it's not as good. He should have killed Bane. He should have been the guy who beat that guy. It's lame. I hate it. And I would be kind of irritated if they had, like, Slappy, for example, get stopped by a cat. If it was a funny ending, which I think a lot of people would not want the first return ever of Slappy to TV shows, especially if it's the original dummy model from the old TV show. If it's that dummy model, nobody's going to want to see Slappy get defeated by a cat or a dog. If it's Monster Blood, it might be okay. It's kind of like the original Monster Blood book and episode. The dog kind of saved the day a little bit. But, you know, it can work sometimes. When it's something more serious like Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, don't do it. Don't do that. Don't do it. Do it with a funnier episode like My Hairiest Adventure or something, you know? If you're going to do it that way, then just do it that way. Don't let the kids be copped out by dogs and cats. It's stupid. Don't do that. Number 12. Have you seen this show called The Nightmare Room? I believe Nightmare Room is also made by R.L. Stine. I believe. I have seen the VHS tapes at Hollywood Video when I was growing up. There was one with Amanda Bynes and one with the kid that played Reese on Malcolm in the Middle, the original middle brother on that show. I never saw that show. I think I saw like one episode my entire life. And I never saw the whole show or like the VHS tapes themselves. I never rented them. I thought they were too scary for me. I was into Goosebumps at the time. And I just never got around. Hollywood Video was gone before I could get my hands on them. They started selling their VHS tapes a couple of years before they went out of business, so I never got my hands on those. And I kind of want to see them sometime. I never saw them, and I want to, because I've heard they're pretty good, apparently. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that. So, have you seen Nightmare Room? What do you think about it? Number 13. Should The Haunting Hour get a TV remake in the future? Not a remake. Not a remake. I want a reboot where they just kind of start up and they make more episodes, because Haunting Hour was fantastic. That was Goosebumps in modern day, in my opinion. Nobody I know has seen that show, except for you guys here on the channel. Most people have not seen that show. Most adults have not seen that show. Most people that liked Goosebumps growing up have not seen that show. It's really a shame, because Haunting Hour is fantastic. My favorite episode ever being the one about the doll called Lilith. A girl gets a doll in the mail as a best friend, and it starts becoming her, and it's terrifying. It's such a scary thing. It's like a 2-part episode, so like a 40-minute long little movie, and it's creepy. It's really creepy, honestly. I love it. It's fantastic. Yeah, I don't want a remake. I want a reboot. Start up making new episodes. Easily would be successful, I think. Because now it's had time to gain traction over the years. A lot of people like myself who did not know it ever came on TV, now I know about it, and I love it. I want to see the whole thing, personally. It's a great show. Question number 14. Should there be Goosebumps Halloween props in the near future besides the costumes? Yeah, I would say so. There should be. I would like to see more. I'd buy all of it. I would. I know Spirit of the Halloween supposedly has a Goosebumps Slappy mask. I did not see one the other day when I went for the first time ever. But I keep seeing videos on YouTube and stuff of people going to Spirit of Halloween, the store, and they're seeing them. I don't know why I missed it, but I haven't seen it, so I'm kind of bummed out about that. But yeah, they could be making more of that. I don't know what else kind of monster they should make. They can't make Monster Blood. They'd have to put you in a microwave to do that, and then put green food coloring on you to do that. But yeah, they can't really pull that off, I think. Maybe. Number 15, the last question from this particular user. Which Goosebumps episode scared you the most when you were younger? Probably Haunted Mask. As much as I love Dummy 3, Haunted Mask terrified me. I mean, it's scary, dude. The ending of Bride of Living Dummy was pretty great, too, with the friend character being locked in the bathroom. They open the door, the whole family does, and he has, like, these big bubble eyes, like these fake eyes, like kind of like Slappy's eyes, doll eyes, sticking out of his head. It's terrifying. That's a really good one, too. These are, like, the only ones I saw when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and it petrified me with Haunted Mask. And Haunted Mask 2 even kind of got to me, but Haunted Mask, the original one, was one of the scariest things I'd ever seen when I was growing up. And I had seen, like, Halloween with Michael Myers and all these things growing up. Haunted Mask petrified me, and it still scares me, honestly. It's a really scary episode. Okay, EB, the original master. I have a lot of questions to answer, man. Question number 1. Are you a Nintendo fan, and which franchise is your absolute favorite? I do love Nintendo. I have a Switch over here. I just don't play it. I'm not into video games very often. Newer video games suck. Xbox, PS4, Switch has good games, but I don't play it because their games are expensive, dude. They're really expensive now. I don't play it, but I do love Nintendo. I do. Which franchise is your absolute favorite? Are you talking about Nintendo? If you're talking about any game series ever, it's Silent Hill. If you're talking about exclusively to Nintendo, it's probably Mario. I love the Mario games. I'm not good at them. I've never beaten one, but I love them. I also love Pokemon when it comes to Nintendo. I think the Pokemon games are really great. Question number 2. What are some of your hobbies besides reading Goosebumps? Of course, I have my secondary YouTube channel I talk about, like Strange Michael, where I do movie reviews and book reviews. I like to read, but I mainly love movies. I don't like TV shows as much as I love movies. Movies can be so different all the time. For example, I also collect steelbooks of my favorite films, like the ones that I just can't live without, like BVS. I love BVS. Drive with Ryan Gosling. I love Drive. It's so good. Terminator Genesis. I'm the only person on the planet who loves Terminator Genesis. I have a steelbook of that. I don't buy many of these things, but I do have some. 2 of them came today. My favorite comedy of all time, Better Off Dead, starring John Cusack, a 1980s film that pretty much inspired Family Guy. It is hilarious. If you love Family Guy and you haven't seen this film, you are missing out. Better Off Dead, steelbook right here. I do collect things like that. I do collect a lot of movies. You have no idea how many movies I have, dude. I have way more movies in my life than anything else, Goosebumps books or anything. And I also got a steelbook for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. These are FYE exclusives. They're like $15 a piece, and I'm so stoked to have these because I also love this film too. I wish they had one for Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club is also amazing if you haven't seen that. But yeah, I love to do movie reviews and stuff on that other channel. That's a big part of my life too. And then I also like the thrift shop, like for movies and DVDs. A lot of people hate DVDs. I don't. I love DVDs. I love VHS even more. But I have a lot of hobbies out there, man. I love to write poetry. I have not written enough now lately to publish a new book, but I do have about 9 books out there from Amazon.com. Different poetry, excuse me, I can't talk tonight. Different poetry books that I've written personally. They're not good, really. The things that I'm proud of, that I think I've made some kind of successful thing in my own right, of how I write things. I'm very much inspired by Bukowski, who is a huge poet. A lot of people know Charles Bukowski. I also love the lead singer of Joy Division called Ian Curtis, who killed himself back in, I think, 1980. He was a great writer. Not really a good singer, but a great writer. And he and Bukowski are kind of what I go for in my writing style. I love poetry. Absolutely love poetry. Big horror fan, but I'm not really sure how many horror books I love. I do love Richard Lehman. Stephen King has a home run every once in a while. Doom McKee and Bag of Bones are his best books ever. I stand by that. The Shining, Carrie, all that, they have nothing on Doom McKee or Bag of Bones. I will argue that till the day I die. But movies. Really love movies. My favorite films of all time are It's a Wonderful Life and Donnie Darko. Great movies. Really, really great films. So Frankenstein's up there too. I love Frankenstein a lot with Boris Karloff. Anyway, number 3, favorite childhood memory. I'll take a second to breathe, let my mouth kind of relax, get less mushy while I think about this. Favorite childhood memory. You know, I'm a big Christmas guy. I love Christmas. My family in this house have always celebrated Christmas Eve night when we open our presents, and then the next day I'd spend time with my dad's side of the family when my parents split up back in 2004. And my biggest favorite memory I always had growing up is that on Christmas Eve, the whole day of Christmas Eve, just in general, we would pretty much start out here. I pretty much grew up in this house. I'd wake up, my family and I would all get ready, and we would start out at one of my great-grandparents' houses, and then we'd go to my aunt, my great-aunt, personally's house. She's passed away now, but we went to her house all the time. We stayed for a few hours, and then when, like really late at night, like 8 or 9 o'clock, we'd come home to here, and we'd open our stuff. And we would stay up till like 2 o'clock in the morning, just opening presents, eating candy and stuff like that. Just, if you guys could see those memories the way I remember them in my head, if you guys could see the passion my mom and my grandparents put into Christmas Eve, and the decorations, the way they decorated downstairs, the way they would have, you know, the stockings hanging from our fireplace downstairs and having the Christmas tree just so beautifully lit. It was such a special time. And it makes me want to cry talking about it, but it really... It means the world to me. I can't even tell you how thankful I am. I'm going to marry a woman, God willing, here soon, that loves Christmas as much as I do, and loves the decorations and the nutcrackers and all that stuff. My grandparents and my mom, I'm so thankful for, because they've always made Christmas Eve so special. Even in my situation when I was a kid, that my parents were divorced and everything, they always went out of their way to make it so special. And my favorite memories are Christmas Eve with those people. And I love Christmas to this day. It's not about getting gifts. It's about spending time with these people that I love so much. And the movies, Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, Jingle All the Way, my personal favorite, Santa Claus, with not Jim Carrey, with Tim Allen. So many big things that just mean the world to me came from Christmas Eve and my family's way of doing that. And I was so blessed with such a great family, guys. I can't even tell you. But Christmas Eve, favorite childhood memory every single year, pretty much. Why'd you get me all emotional, man? James Danko, what's the first Goosebumps book you ever read? I believe the first one I ever read was one of the ones I got from my skating rink birthday party I always talk about here on the channel. Probably the first Dummy book, I believe, was the first one I ever read. I believe. Because I'm pretty sure I saw Dummy 3, the VHS tape from Hollywood Video, and fell in love with this, wanted the books. My family got me books for my birthday at the skating rink, like I always talk about. I'm pretty sure Dummy 1 was the first one I ever read, because I wanted to read 1, 2, and then 3, because I had seen the 3 episode. But I think it was Dummy 1, I believe. Hi, I'm Elias, which is what James Danko's other comment was. I love Goosebumps books. I have a few questions. Number 1, what's your favorite Goosebumps series? At the moment, probably the classic series. I love Goosebumps across the board. I think pretty much all the series have their benefits. Then there's the weaker ones like Slappy World. Slappy World has good premises, or stories, concepts, whatever, and usually the endings are terrible and kind of ruin them a lot of the time. But the classic series is pretty much always good. I love the classic series. I think Give Yourself Goosebumps books are pretty much always great. I really always enjoy those, almost always. There's very few of the Give Yourself books I've really not liked. But the classic series always has home runs. They have really creative, unique monsters that the other series do not have. A lot of the time the other series are kind of ripping off the classic series and using those same monsters a lot of the time. I wish I'd brought a bottle of water in here. I don't have it though. I can't pause the video or anything in the recording and all that to go do that. So forgive me for being so dry mouthed. And then my friend over here had me crying. Okay, next question. What's your favorite Goosebumps book? At the moment, it's still kind of tied between Ghost Camp and Goosebumps 1 of the Haunted Mask. I love both tremendously. Why do you like Goosebumps? I love Goosebumps because of the nostalgia, because it was very much a 90s thing. I think it will never succeed the way it did in the 90s. I think a lot of the fan base will always be the same amount of fan base. There will be newcomers. I feel like there's a little bit of cold in my system too. Maybe that's why I'm saying things weird. I feel like there will be newcomers, like there is. There's a lot of young people on this channel who never grew up with the thing and are just now getting into it at like the age of 8, 9, and 10, which is cool, really cool. But it's the nostalgia and feeling like you're part of something you've never been a part of. I did not stay obsessed with Goosebumps. I was a big fan of it. I just wasn't obsessed. I didn't buy everything like Goosebumps Ozzy fan did. I didn't buy every product I ever saw. I probably would have if I had seen more. But by the time I got into Goosebumps, like in the early 2000s, late 90s, like 1999, somewhere in that ballpark, by the time I got into this, it was pretty much dead and gone. It had its books here and there, like the Series 2000 books, but it was pretty much dead and gone. I didn't see much of it anywhere. So, it's kind of a shame, honestly. But I love it because of the monsters. I love how it's kind of one of those things like Twilight Zone that I can show this to my kids when they get kind of like 5 and 6 years old. They can watch this with me or read this with me and really get into it the way I get into it. It's mature enough where it can be fun for adults to get into. And I don't have to wait like 18 years to show them like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and all that. Not that I'd probably wait the whole 18 years, but still, you know what I mean. Anyway, vlogging with Sam. How many Goosebumps books did you have before you started collecting? If I had to guess, probably 15, maybe. I started collecting about 2 years ago. I don't know if you've been watching this whole time or not, but I started collecting about 2 years ago. I'm really getting into all of them, trying to catch every single one of them like they're freaking Pokemon. And I really only had like 15 or 20. Not even 20, I would say. Probably 15, 18. Somewhere in that ballpark. And they were mostly ones from the skating rink birthday party. And some other things here and there that my grandparents had got me, like Goosebumps 1 of the Haunted Mask. And I'm glad that I collected all of them. I love them to death. I think they're so much fun and so enjoyable. My boy Grayson, the Goosebumps kid. Number 1, what series of Goosebumps books do you like the most? Again, I think it's the original 62 for me. Question number 2, what are some Goosebumps books that you like but everyone else hates? Man, there's a doozy question. I think Ghost Camp is extremely underrated. I don't know about it being hated by everybody else, but most people don't care about it and don't read it and don't pay enough attention to it. Ghost Beach is another fantastic one that I love to death, and I can't believe everybody else hates it. Little Comic Book Shop of Horrors, really great book, underrated, not so much hated, but mostly underrated. You Can't See Me, or You Can't Scare Me. This is not about John Cena. You Can't Scare Me is fantastic. I can't believe people hate it, and I love it tremendously. What is another one? I feel like there's another couple out there that I really like, everybody else hates. Ghost of Slappy was really good. A lot of people trash that one. The ending is not great. The ending is pretty bad, but the rest of the book I really dig. My hat will not stay on my head right. It's like, the more I talk, my big old head pushes the hat off. I don't know. Question number 3, what are some of your favorite Series 2000 books? Bride of the Living Dummy is very good. Slappy's Nightmare is good until the ending. The last chapter of that book is horrible. Mummy Walks was great. It shouldn't really be called a mummy book, but it was great until the ending. The ending was a really big mixed bag for the last couple of chapters. The Halloween one. What is it called? You know the one I'm talking about. The one about trick-or-treating. The Halloween one. That was a great one. That was really scary. One of the scariest Halloween books out there I've ever read. One of the scariest Goosebumps books ever read. Really, really good. Headless Halloween, that's what it was called. It was a great book. Really love that one. And here are some recommendations. Phantom of the Auditorium. I've heard a lot from him about that one. That sounds pretty cool. Even though it's kind of an overdone plot. A Night in Terror Tower. I haven't read that one. I've seen the TV episode. Sounds pretty cool. The Girl Who Cried Monster. Have not seen the episode or read the book. I really want to, though. I've heard a lot of good things from people like GoosebumpsFan here on YouTube. And The Beast from the East. I've never wanted to read that one. I've always kind of put that one off. God bless, Michael. God bless you too, my boy Grayson. Oh boy, here we go. Lou has asked 18 questions, and they're not really all questions. They're kind of just sarcastic chicken puns and stuff, but we'll get there. Love you, Lou. Number 1, have you played the Goosebumps board games you got a while back yet? No, I've not. I am really bad about promising things and never getting around to it. That's why you guys haven't seen reviews for them. If I had, I would have put up reviews if I had not gotten busy. But I almost... If I had confidence that it would come back in one piece, I would take 1 or 2 with me on the honeymoon. I'm scared to death about losing them, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to leave it behind at my house, not at the honeymoon, in the cabin. But, yeah. Yeah. Question number 2, what's the most useless fact you know? I'm one of these people like Sherlock Holmes that when I hear useless things that are not about Goosebumps, which is not really a priority in life, I usually just kind of throw it out of my head, you know? I don't really kind of put it away. I do know a useless fact that I know is that Stephen King was barely alive with all the drugs he was doing when he wrote Cujo. He literally does not remember writing Cujo. The Killer Dog book, if you haven't read that one, that's a doozy. It's a good book, but it's a doozy. He does not remember writing that book at all. It's still a fact. It doesn't matter if it's a trivia question or answer. Number 3, do you like pineapple on your pizza? I hate pineapple, just in general. I don't want it on my pizza. Don't put it near my pizza. I'm not going to put it on my pizza tonight either if I do the pizza. Number 4, how many chickens do you think it would take to kill a full-grown male African elephant? You know where this is heading. I don't know, Lou. I don't know how many chickens it could take. Number 5, chicken. No chance. You sure? Darn it. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to be one of the last ones I talk about, probably. I don't know. I might sooner. I don't know. Number 6, most forgettable Goosebumps book. You know, there's that one particular book. It's not Trick or Trapped, the old classic rare book. It's the newer Trick or Trap from, like, Most Wanted. I think it's a special edition book. I read it, and I gave it a positive review. I really enjoyed it. I was really surprised by it. And yet I don't remember a thing about it. I remember little pieces here and there in the beginning of the book. There was a mask. It's like a little tiki mask, Day of the Dead type of thing. And that's all I remember. I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember the ending, the bullies, anything like that. I physically don't remember anything that happened in the book. And I have tried to watch my review and remember things, and nothing comes back. So there are certain books that the dementia in my head is already getting rid of, piece by piece. Yeah. I hate to say it's the most forgettable, because I really liked it. I don't mean it to be most forgettable in a bad way, but it is relatively forgettable. At least for me, because I'm old. Anyway, number 7, Slappy World's reign is supposedly over. What do you think would be the next series, excluding comics? I don't know. Again, if that's true, then I don't know. I would like to have... Could we just do like a Halloween theme? I don't know if people would want that year-round, but I would kind of like it. I would, but it's probably not the best idea to sell Goosebumps books. I don't know what the new series could be, if there's going to be a new one. Maybe bring back Goosebumps Gold, give us that welcome to, or Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever, from Haunted House, or whatever the first book was supposed to be called, Dead House. Happy Holidays from Dead House, whatever that book was supposed to be. Give us a new Haunted Mask book. Give us a new Slappy book. It's not Slappy World. I don't know. You could do it. You could. Bring back Goosebumps Gold. Just call it that. Do it. Let's see. Number 8. Which online store do you usually get your books from? I know a few sites, but the older books are usually harder to find for cheap. I pretty much bought most of my books from Amazon. In the used section. It was like $5 listed from Thrift Books. If you go to Thrift Books' website, you can usually get the used books pretty cheap, like $5 from their actual website. The used books do pop up pretty crazy. I recommend, if you're looking for a rare book, like Trick or Trapped, or Jack-o'-lantern's TV book, if you're looking for something like that, go to eBay. Sit on eBay as long as you possibly can. Sometimes, if you look at Thrift Books, they will get things like Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns TV book. Most of the time they do not. They might get one like every 6 months. Rare books like Trick or Trapped, I recommend going to eBay. But most of my books came from Thrift Book through Amazon, the used section. And very rarely did I ever have a problem with the... Most of their books, if they call them a good condition book, it actually looks flawless. I don't know how it could be any better or be in a great condition by any means. But they're pretty reliable, I think. They do get a little pricey, depending on what the book is. Some of the special edition Give Yourself Goosebumps books can be a little pricey, like $20 and $30 sometimes. Sometimes it's worth the money, I would say too. It's more likely than not worth the money a lot of the time. Number 9, Good Luck in Life. Thank you. Number 10, Chicken Chick. Ah, forget it. Number 11, when's the last time you accidentally or purposely injured a Goosebumps book? Bruh, I'm one of these people. I love books. I love movies, I love DVDs, all that stuff, and I'm telling you, I had this one day, I forgot that I sat down my book on the couch, and I went over to do something on my PlayStation when I was going to watch, like, whatever, and I had my controller plugged into the actual console, and I came back to my seat, and I sat down, and I freaking bent the cover in half, and I was pissed. I was so mad, dude. I don't remember what book it was, but it was like the whole corner was, like, bent up halfward, and I was so upset, dude. It makes your heart sink. It's like you sat on your child, you know, like your baby or something. It's horrifying. It's one of those things that really gets to me. And that happened to me. Number 12, say Goosebumps backwards. I can't say it. Say Chicken Chicken backwards. Chicken Chicken. Number 14, favorite childhood TV show. Probably either Goosebumps or Spider-Man animated series. I love both of those to death. I have VHS tapes and DVDs from Spider-Man. Really, I do. I love it to death. Another one just kind of off the cuff is probably Ed, Edd n Eddy. I've talked about that earlier. I love Ed, Edd n Eddy. I think it's one of the best cartoons, if not the best, that Cartoon Network ever put out. I love Johnny Bravo. Johnny Bravo is way more adult than people made it out to be. It's hilarious. Really funny. One of my favorite Johnny Bravo things ever is probably the crossover with Scooby-Doo. Really funny. Really, really funny. My personal favorite dark cartoon, like ever, is probably Billy and Mandy. I think Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is one of the funniest things ever made. If you haven't watched that in a while, you're missing out, dude. It is so freaking funny and so dark. The humor is just pitch black in that show. It's so good. Let's see. Do you play ping pong? Absolutely. I love it, but I'm terrible at it because I'm fat. Number 16. Do you consider Jurassic Park or World films horror films? The book definitely falls into the horror genre. I have not read the book. I consider the first film a horror film. More of a sci-fi horror film, but still a horror film nonetheless. Kind of a modest sci-fi horror film, in the sense of not being futuristically sci-fi. I hate 2, I hate 3, and I hate World, and I haven't seen Fallen Kingdom. I don't even want to. I might at some point, but the first one is really the only one I like. I think all of them are terrible after that. Genuinely, I hate them all. Like, I can't stand them. I don't care if they brought Goldblum back at one point. I don't care that they have Chris Pratt in them. They're bad movies. Really, really bad movies. Moving along. Number 17. This is not a question. I don't really think Sony should own the rights to Goosebumps. Everyone already knows that. Yes, we know. We know how you feel, Lou. I love you, but you're wrong. Maybe they shouldn't own the rights, but I trust them more than I trust Netflix. Netflix would pollute it with SJW nonsense, whereas Sony will just kill the whole franchise like they did Amazing Spider-Man. I'm still pissed about that. It's been like 10 years and I'm still mad. Alright, number 18, which is the last one of my boy Lou's comments and questions. I know what this one is. I know. Say noose, neck chick, weaver, anog, me. Which essentially says, I'm gonna review Chicken soon. Whatever you say, man. Congrats on nearly 750 subs. Love your content. Thank you, man. Love you too. Alicia Games, what's the best Goosebumps book series in your opinion? Classic series, definitely. The Real Minion Boy. I haven't seen him comment in a while. Favorite meme. Favorite meme. That's a new one. I never really see a lot. I don't use Facebook anymore. I stopped. That's why I don't respond to you guys on the Facebook pages anymore. By the way, for anybody who wants to know why, anybody who happens to still be watching this video, I don't really use Facebook. I kind of uninstalled the app because I got sick of using it. I got sick of all the political nonsense on there. I'm just done with it. Really, honestly, I was part of the problem, but I'm still done. I'm fed up with it. I've made my mind up for November. I don't care anymore. I don't care about these idiots. I'm done. But anyway, favorite meme. I don't see a whole lot of memes on my Facebook. One of the ones that really got to me was probably Bad Luck Brian. Bad Luck Brian is an old meme, but it's a great meme. It's like this guy, for anybody who doesn't know, for whatever reason, he's just an ugly kid. He took a really bad high school photo, or middle school photo. He's got braces and everything else, and they kind of do these jokes like, you know, wanted to go swimming today, or wanted to go swimming in the pool in downtown Roanoke or whatever, and then it's like, drowned. You know, like at the bottom of the screen. It's a good meme. If you haven't seen those, check them out. They're really good. I like them a lot. Fire Animations. Out of all the Goosebumps books you've read, which one is your favorite and least favorite? Absolute favorite, again, Ghost Camp / Wanted Haunted Mask. Really love both. I think they're both really great, personally. Least favorite, let me look at my little notepad thing real quick. What is on the very bottom of my list at this current moment? Weirdo Halloween. I just can't stand Weirdo Halloween. My Harriest Adventure is just one little piece up from that. Just barely. But Weirdo Halloween's a complete miss in my opinion for the most part. Maiku, my boy Maiku. Been watching your videos, man. What's your favorite MCU movie? God, there's so many good ones. Winter Soldier and Civil War are fantastic. I love Civil War. I cannot believe people hate Civil War now. Winter Soldier's just amazing. That and Guardians of the Galaxy came out the same year, and they were both just incredible movies. Endgame was great. Infinity War was great. The original Iron Man is just perfect. I mean, it is a perfect movie. I like Iron Man 2 a whole lot, too. It's not my favorite, but it's a really good one. I can't believe people hate that one, too. I think people don't really click with that movie for whatever reason. If I had to pick a favorite, it's probably going to be Winter Soldier. It's great, it's intense, it's crazy. It's a spy movie, has a lot of commentary about like the Illuminati and the New World Order type of stuff. Robert Redford's great in it. Chris Evans is fantastic in it. Great movie. Really recommend it. Does They Call Me the Night Howler seem interesting to you? I haven't read the back of that. I don't really know anything about it, but I'm really stoked for it. It sounds really good, just in general. The cover's cool. Apparently R.L. Stein said it's like the scariest one he's ever read, or written, excuse me. Probably the scariest he's written in a long time. And I can't wait to read it. I'm excited to read it. I have a lot more Slappy World books to read till I get to that, so I'm going to keep trying my hardest to. Do you like SpongeBob? Absolutely. I love SpongeBob. Mainly the older stuff, but it's one of those shows like Family Guy. Every time a new episode comes out, I'm excited to see that, but I still like the older stuff more. I love all of it, but I love the old stuff more, the most. If so, what's your favorite episode? The hash-slinging slasher episode is my favorite SpongeBob episode. It's great. I also like the one about the criminal who gets free and keeps going after SpongeBob. Well, you know what? My favorite episode is actually the Christmas episode with the Bikini Bottom people finding out about Santa Claus from Sandy. That's a great episode. I have that on DVD and I watch it every single Christmas, and I've always watched it every single Christmas since I was a child and got that DVD in like 2001 or 2. I love it. I think it's so good, dude. I think it's called Christmas Who, I believe is the episode. That's my favorite. I love the one about, the one I was just talking about, the hash-slinging slasher, but I think the Christmas Who episode's my favorite, personally. Really great show. Love that show. What's your least favorite movie? Oh, God. So there's movies out there that I hate that are terrible. Like, what's a great example of one? Well, for example, I recently, on my Strange Michael YouTube channel, I talked about 2 films called Halloween Jack. They are not the worst I've ever seen, but they're pretty bad. The most insulting movie I've ever seen in my life, personally, that I've been the most offended by, was Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love the first Amazing Spider-Man. I think it's amazing. I think it's really good and fun and crazy and wild. Has a little bit of horror to it. And then the second film comes out. It's this really bubbly, silly, funny, dopey movie that I hate it. It's so freaking bad, man. I'm still pissed to this day. I saw it the night it premiered in movie theaters, and I have never been more upset and angry in my life at a movie. A lot of people like Chris Stuckman. Chris Stuckman was pissed off about Dragon Ball Evolution. That's another one that a lot of people hate that I enjoy. Not because it's a Dragon Ball film, but because it's kind of dumb and fun. But Amazing Spider-Man 2, for me, is my Dragon Ball Evolution to Chris Stuckman. I hate that movie. It is the most... Again, I hate Dark Knight Rises. And I really hate, like, Birds of Prey and stuff like that. But, I mean, nothing has really come close to how much I hate Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, I personally hate that movie. Really, honestly. Whew. Got that off my chest. Are you planning on doing a Goosebumps season reviews? Probably not season reviews. Probably just a straight-up show review at some point. I might go through and rank the episodes as well in a different video. I'm not really sure yet, but it'll happen when it happens, probably. Thank you for your questions, Maiku. Steven Chavez. Have you ever read the Mostly Ghostly book series? No, I've not. I've heard they're good, but I've not seen that. I've not seen the actual TV show episodes or short movie things that were released either. My second question is, have you ever watched Spectacular Spider-Man series? Yes, it's great. It's almost as good as the animated Spider-Man show from the 90s that I love so much. It's a great show if you haven't seen it. Really highly recommend Spectacular Spider-Man. You can get the whole series in a box set now, I believe. It's a shame it ended when it ended. It was so great. It was so great, man. My last question is that, have you listened to Goosebumps Sounds of Halloween? I don't know what that is. I heard him recommend this the other day in a comment, on this comment, when I was reading through. I did not look it up. I don't know what it is. So, forgive me for that. I'll look into it. I'm almost done. I almost get to eat dinner. Detective Bluto Mind Pretzel. I saw your Goosebumps DVD haul video. I'm going to say that I can't wait for your review of Say Cheese and Die Screaming, mostly because without spoiling, you'll be shocked. I've heard that. I've heard that a couple of times. I'm really excited to read that book. I've enjoyed the first one so much. It's so good. I can't wait to start the second one tomorrow. Or today, when you guys see this video. But still... yeah, it's going to be cool. Can't wait to. Thank you for watching, by the way. Jack Fahey. Yeah, you're the last commenter, my friend. What are your top 5 favorite horror franchises? This is the comment I was talking about, guys. Top 5, man. Again, Saw is probably number 1. Number 2 is Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 3, maybe Child's Play. I love the Child's Play films. I think they're so good. I'm like the only person who loves Cult. You know? There's only 2 films in that whole franchise I don't like, and that's Bride and Seed. Not that I hate them, I just don't love them like I do the other ones. But Child's Play is number 3. Number 4 is probably Friday. I love Friday the 13th. Number 5, probably Halloween. I have a lot of films I love. A lot of movies, series I love and stuff. Some that only have like 2 films, like Stir of Echoes, that I love both films. But number 5 is probably going to be Halloween. I really like Halloween. It's very atmospheric. I'm the only person on the planet who likes the theatrical cut of Curse of Michael Myers. I love Rob Zombie's Age 2. I love the 2018 film for the most part. I'm a big Halloween guy. I love these movies. I mean, I think all of these films, all these franchises I just named, pretty much have great films across the board for the most part. Again, Strange Michael, that channel. It's where I'm going to be talking about all these things. I do want to throw out one more recommendation for a film series you might have not heard of. It's a 2-film series franchise, whatever right now. It's found footage, kind of like Blair Witch Project type of stuff, Paranormal Activity type of stuff. It's called The Fear Footage. There's the first film and the second film. You need to watch them in order. They are great. They are scary, they are fun, and I love them to death. They'd be so good for a Halloween watch with some friends if you guys want that. I watched both and I love them both. They're also up there for like some of my favorite horror films of all time. or franchise, if you want to call them that. They're very low budget, but they're very good. Very, very good. They're not perfect, but they're pretty great, personally, I would say so. Anyway, that is the conclusion of my 750 question, or 750 sub discussion. I'm going to refresh the page real quick and see if there's anything else. No, nobody else commented after Alvin. So I think I covered everything, I believe. Yeah, I think everything is covered now. Thank you all so much for your comments. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subbing and talking to me and listening to me here ramble on and all that stuff. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed it. I'm going to go eat dinner because I'm about to starve to death. And it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. I have to eat. I need to go to bed by 5. I'm probably not going to be able to, but I'm going to try to. I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow. But it's worth it because I love you guys and I love talking to you guys. Thank you for being here to celebrate with me. Thank you for being a part of the 750 subscribers group, community, whatever. Thank you for loving Goosebumps, and thank you guys for being here with me and talking with me all the time. You guys mean the world to me. God bless you guys. I pray for you guys every single day. And goodbye.